Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into the science behind a pretty big question. What actually makes a job a good job? So let's just jump right in. We're talking about a question that honestly shapes every single workplace out there. What really makes a job good? I mean, is it all about squeezing out every last drop of speed for the company? Or is it about making sure the employee is actually happy and satisfied?
Well, there's actually a whole field dedicated to this, and it's called job design. And really, its main goal is to find that sweet spot, right? That perfect balance between getting things done efficiently, keeping everyone safe, and making sure people have a decent, quality of work life.
Okay, so to really get a handle on how we design jobs today, we've got to go back in time a bit. You'll see that there were basically two big competing ideas that have shaped, well, everything, from the factory floor all the way up to the C-suite. So, in one corner, you've got what's called the efficiency school. This all comes from Frederick Winslow Taylor's whole scientific management thing. And the core idea, it's all about specialization. Think about it like this. Take a big job, break it down into the tiniest, most repetitive little pieces you can, and then have people do just that one tiny thing over and over as fast as they can. And then, in the other corner, you've got the behavioral school. And they kind of came along and said, hold on a second, people aren't robots. This school of thought focuses on the human side of things, motivation, trust, teamwork. Their big idea is that a happy, fulfilled worker isn't just a nice to have. They're actually the most productive worker you can get. And right here, this is the puzzle, the core tension that managers are still trying to solve today. Look, from a management perspective, specialization seems great at first, right? You get high productivity, training is a piece of cake. But the flip side is you end up with bored, unhappy employees doing the same thing all day. And that creates a whole new set of headaches for managers, like people quitting all the time or just not showing up. So, to fight back against that soul-crushing boredom, the behavioral school came up with a few tools for the toolkit. First, there's job enlargement. That's what they call horizontal loading. It just means giving a worker a wider variety of tasks. Then you have job rotation, which is pretty self-explanatory. You just move people between different jobs. But the real game changer is job enrichment, or vertical loading. This is where you actually give people more responsibility, more control, letting them plan and coordinate their own work. That's a big deal. Okay, so that brings us to today. How do the best companies manage to get the efficiency and the employee satisfaction? Well, it's not magic. They use a very specific set of tools to help people work smarter, not just harder. One of the most important tools is something called methods analysis. And let's be clear, this isn't about a manager standing over you with a stopwatch screaming, faster. Not at all. It's about taking a really close look at how a job is being done and finding ways to make it flow better, make it safer, and honestly, just make it less of a pain to do. Yeah, and this isn't just some random guesswork. It's a whole structured process. You start by picking a task to study, but then, and this is so important, the next step is actually talking to the person who does that job every single day. You document everything, you analyze it, and only then do you try out a new, hopefully better, method. And you can't forget that last step, the follow-up, to make sure the change actually made things better and not worse. You want to see a company that has absolutely mastered this? Look no further than UPS. I mean, this quote from their engineering lead, it just says it all. It perfectly captures their whole philosophy. Seriously, UPS is a complete masterclass in this stuff. We're talking over 200 sensors on every single vehicle, tracking everything you can imagine. They swapped out keys for proximity fobs just to shave a few seconds off every stop. And the results? They are absolutely staggering. They've saved millions of gallons of fuel, and a typical driver's daily deliveries jumped from 90 to 120. That's a huge increase, and it all came from just analyzing and optimizing the work itself. Okay, so let's say you've designed this super efficient job. That's great, but now you have the next big question. How long should it really take someone to do it? And that's where a little something called work measurement comes into play. The whole point is to figure out a standard time for any given task. And listen, this part is super important. It's not about the fastest time anyone could ever possibly do it. It's about finding a pace that's efficient, for sure, but also sustainable, a pace a qualified worker can keep up without burning out. So how do they even figure that out? Well, it's basically a three-step process. Step one is pretty straightforward. You just observe the task. An analyst will time a worker doing the job a few times to get an average. That's called the observed time. Okay, but here's the thing.
Everyone works at a slightly different speed, right? Some people are faster, some are a bit more deliberate. So for step 2, you adjust for that pace. They use a performance rating. It's kind of like a handicap in golf to level things out and find what they call the normal time for the job. And then, for the final step, you add in a little bit of reality. Because, people aren't machines. You have to factor in time for personal needs, taking a quick break, dealing with small, unavoidable delays. You add that allowance factor in, and boom, you've got your final standard time. Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? It's really, really important to understand that all of these tools we've been talking about, from designing the job in the first place to figuring out the standard time, it's not just about squeezing every last bit of productivity out of people. There's a much bigger goal here. And that bigger purpose is all about improving the overall quality of work life, what folks in the field call QWL. Because what we've learned the hard way sometimes is that workers who feel happy, respected, and safe, they're not just better off. They're the most productive and innovative people you can have on your team. It's truly a win-win for everybody. And, of course, a massive piece of your quality of work life is money, how you get paid. And it pretty much boils down to 2 main ways. You've got your time-based systems, like an hourly wage or a salary. That gives you stability. You know what's coming in. Then you've got output-based systems, like piecework or a sales commission. That's great for rewarding top performers, but it can also mean your pay is all over the place, and it might even tempt people to cut corners to get more done. And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. As automation and AI keep getting better and better and start taking over more of the routine stuff, what is a good job even going to look like in the future? The one thing we know for sure is that these principles, this constant balancing act between cold, hard efficiency and real human satisfaction, they aren't going away. In fact, they're probably going to be more important than ever.